What if I told you that every major economic collapse in the last 2,000 years, from the fall of ancient empires to the 2008 financial crisis, follows almost the exact same hidden pattern? Different eras, different rulers, different currencies, yet the same chain reaction repeats with eerie precision. And here's the unsettling twist: we're living through the early stages of that pattern again, right now. So what is this formula that even the strongest civilizations cannot escape? To answer that, we need to go back long before Wall Street, before central banks, before the word economy even existed. Economic collapse is not a modern invention. It is one of humanity's oldest recurring stories. In the ancient world, rulers discovered early that wealth could be manipulated. Rome had its Caesars, China had its dynasties, Europe its monarchs, all convinced they had mastered money. But across every one of these civilizations, the same ingredients appear: rapid expansion, booming populations, rising trade, and then slowly and quietly bad decisions that accumulate beneath the surface like cracks in a foundation. Collapses always feel sudden, but they never are. They build in silence. The story begins with the Roman Empire. Around the 3rd century, Rome was struggling to fund its massive military and sprawling bureaucracy. Instead of raising taxes or cutting spending, emperors turned to a quicker, more dangerous trick: they diluted the silver in the denarius. At first, citizens didn't notice. The coin still looked shiny, still felt heavy, still carried the emperor's face. But value was evaporating. Prices rose, trust eroded, and inflation, an idea economists would formally define centuries later, had begun. Rome didn't fall in a single moment. It fell one devalued coin at a time. Centuries later, Europe repeated the pattern. In the 14th century, powerful Italian banking families like the Bardi and Peruzzi revolutionized global finance. Credit systems, long-distance loans, bills of exchange — it was the most sophisticated economy the world had ever seen. But then European kings discovered they could borrow endlessly. England defaulted, France defaulted, and suddenly the super system that powered Europe imploded. Trade collapsed, banks fell, ordinary people suffered. The same thing happened again in the 1600s during the Dutch tulip bubble, where tulip prices skyrocketed 20-fold before collapsing in a single week. And again in the 1700s with France's Mississippi bubble, engineered by John Law, a financial genius whose ideas accidentally triggered one of the first modern stock market meltdowns. Across all these crises, the pattern is painfully consistent. Rapid growth leads to speculation. Speculation leads to overconfidence. Overconfidence leads to leverage, and leverage leads to disaster. The eras change, but human behavior doesn't. By the 1800s, the world had industrialized. Railroads, factories, steamships, global trade networks, all expanding at unprecedented speed. But the bigger the system, the bigger the crash. The Panic of 1873 wiped out banks across continents. The Great Depression shattered the global economy after a decade of easy credit and reckless speculation. Yet even here, collapses are rarely triggered by the event. Historians blame a bank failure, a bubble popping, a currency devaluation. Those are merely sparks. The real cause always builds for years, hidden beneath the surface. It's never about the match. It's about the mountain of dry wood waiting for it. Whenever an economy collapses, the fallout looks the same. Currency loses trust. Savings evaporate. Governments scramble with emergency measures. Political instability rises. And regular people, workers, savers, small businesses suffer first and longest. Leaders promise reforms, yet the deeper problems almost always remain unresolved. From ancient Rome to modern Argentina, the playbook barely changes. Why do societies keep repeating the same mistakes? Because every generation invents new financial tools and convinces itself that this time is different. The creation of central banks stabilized economies but also enabled unprecedented money printing. The rise of global trade increased prosperity but also made crises instantly contagious. Financial engineering allowed industries to grow but also created leverage levels capable of toppling entire nations. Innovation solves old problems but creates new, bigger ones. As systems grow more complex, collapses become more destructive. And now we arrive at today. Global debt has soared past 300% of world GDP. Dozens of countries face risk of default. The U.S. alone has added trillions in debt in just a few years. Household savings are thin. Housing bubbles stretch across continents. and financial systems are more interconnected and more fragile than at any other moment in history. The same pattern that toppled ancient empires, medieval trading networks, early banking systems, and industrial economies is forming again. The cracks are already visible to anyone willing to look. So what do we learn from 2,000 years of economic collapses? First, collapses aren't random, they follow predictable patterns created by predictable human behavior. Second, economic stability is built on trust, not money. When trust breaks, everything breaks. And third, economic booms almost always hide the early signs of collapse. Growth feels good until the moment it doesn't. Which raises one final question: are we witnessing the start of the next chapter in this centuries-old cycle? Or is there still time to break it? History suggests that no civilization has ever escaped the pattern. But history also shows that the people who pay attention survive the fall. If you want to understand where the world is heading next and what the data suggests might be coming, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next chapter of this story is still being written.